5:30, so we'll call the meeting to order for the Board of Public Works, City of Marshfield, Monday, July 6, 2025. Happy New Year, everyone. Moving on to item 2, approval of minutes of December 16th, 2024 Board of Public Works meeting. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments? No citizens' comments. So we move on to number 4. Request for proposal for design services at Wildwood Plaza renovation for the new police station, presented by Jody Gehring, Chief of Police.
Okay, good evening. As you're all aware, we accepted a donation of a building located at 2504 South Central Avenue and plan to renovate that building into a police department. The next step in this process is to complete design and blueprint. We need to solicit professionals to complete requests for proposals or RFPs in order to select the company to help us complete this phase of the project. I received permission from PFC in December 24 at their meeting to move forward with the RFPs, provided that it's approved by this body and council. I do request that if it is decided that we move forward with the RFPs, that we have both members of the council and PFC help select the company when those RFPs are returned. So with that, I request your permission to move forward with.
All right. Go ahead, Mike. Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Go ahead.
I just had 2 notes. I thought this was pretty well detailed. I think it's going to give us what we're looking for to kind of get a good idea behind everything. The 2 things I wanted to know is it possible to add a bullet point under proposal requirements? I would like everybody coming back to detail how they would utilize the existing conditions. I know it's probably covered generally under one of these, but I think given that that's going to be a big component to saving money at this building, it would be important to see that in their proposal requirements. And I would also think that in addition to the schedule, I would like to see a detail of the checkpoints with you guys, because I think this needs to be a super engaged proposal. And I'm sure that they'll have something generic on there like 25% check-in, something like that. But I think it would be important to have them note that with their schedule, they should note any checkpoints that they're going to have with you guys.
I thought, if I'm not mistaken, there was a bullet point in there that they should utilize some of the existing things to save cost.
I think there is. I just think it's not in the proposal requirements. So like when they submit that back, I'd like to see it in that. So when we get the summary, we also have how they're going to do that. Okay. I'm sure things can change. I know Mike can probably speak to this too, being in construction, like nothing ever goes according to plan. But just having an idea of what they're going to try to do would probably be beneficial versus them just saying like, oh, we'll try to reuse existing conditions. We all know that, but
it should be easy enough.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Ritz.
Chief, thanks for the presentation. My question has to do with the project timetable. And I'm looking at page 6. And if I'm reading this correctly, we were hoping to send out the RFP on December 18th.
Yeah, we were hoping to, however, it didn't get through the...
And that's fine. And I guess, so I'm looking at the February 21st deadline for proposals to come back. And I'm wondering, you know, we're dealing with an existing shell. Most of the construction work will be interior anyway. I'm thinking, could we push that, or would we want to push out that proposal due date of February 21st out a little bit further to make sure that we cast a good net and give people adequate time to...
I know when Josh and I talked about the date we thought it was okay, but we can adjust that. I don't think it's any issue. We can move it forward.
So...
Or push it back, rather.
I mean, do you require any formal action on that just to document it, or are you going to do it, or how do you want to proceed with that? And it's just a thought. I'm not the expert by any means, but it just seems to make sense that given what we're working with as far as the building and the construction that's required and the current, you know, we're at, you know, the 6th of January.
We could just simply amend these dates or change these dates in the proposal before it's approved to go out.
Yeah. And the other thing about it, you know, people that may be considering it say, hey, I don't have enough time and it's a special project and we're moving on to another project. So that's my thought.
Your recommendation of how long we move it out for?
Just winging it, I was thinking a month, but again, I don't know what's all tied to these dates, and I'm just, you know,
They were estimates on our end too, so, I mean, I don't think it hurts to push it out a month.
yeah. I guess my question would be, how much time do we think that potential contractors would prefer in order to do it a full analysis?
Mhm.
Because again, it's not new construction, you know, it's a special project.
Go ahead.
As a follow-up question, I think Russ brings up a good point. In terms of the building itself, I know that we had some stuff done on this. Is there a survey done of existing conditions, including architectural drawings that we can hand off?
Yeah, that we plan to send the report from ADCI, and there's also a previous one that, from Five Bugles that looked at lots in the city.
Okay.
So we're gonna send both of those reports with them.
I would say, I remember that we had all the conditions because I remember all the photos. I just didn't know if we had architectural plans because that'll probably be a big driving factor behind that. Because that would be the other thing is I saw we had an elective building tour, but I was going in thinking we had those. So I just want to make sure, otherwise I would make it a required.
Yeah,
building.
the plan is to send it.
Okay, perfect. And Josh, just because you're going to be probably the one of the most experienced to speak to this, how long have we usually taken for RFPs? I mean, and I think Russ brings up a good point, like, it is something we could move back. I mean, in my line of work, it's usually been, we don't give more than 2 weeks most often because it's not needed, but unique condition, I don't know, what do you think from experience?
Yeah, this timetable was kind of put together, structured on a previous RFP. The RFPs I'm more familiar with are not building construction, so that might need to add some time to this. Your point about reviewing the existing structure as well, I mean, that's a good point, so I don't see an issue with delaying it. A week, a month. I don't really ever
I could, I think we're, you know, and again, I'm just speculating. I'm thinking you probably kept the holidays in mind. So you know, the original intent was to send RFPs out on the 18th, expect them back on February 21st, send them on December 18th, expect them back on February 21st. So, and then evaluation of the proposals was to begin on the 24th of February, going through March 14th. So even if we went into, you know, March 1st, and I don't know what that date is, it'd be a little more. And again, I'm not a contractor who's gonna bid on this or anything, but so for example, if you were to say RFPs are due close of business on Friday, the 7th of March, it still gives staff a full week to, you know, to stay with the schedule if you want to do that.
or March 4th would be extra 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They were to be opened on a Tuesday.
And it's hoping we have internet.
Now, if I'm reading this correctly, this is just a proposal for the design services. It's not the design itself. So,
Right.
I think pushing it back would be, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat on an old building like this.
Mhm.
It may be advantageous to everybody to give them a little extra time to look at it, and I agree. I think that's a good idea.
And do you guys have a preference on, if you choose to have someone sit with the selection process, you know, who you want on that committee when we get the proposals back? I think it would make sense to have somebody from the council and the PFC involved in that.
I think probably do that on a council level when there's
Yeah.
a full,
Okay.
full group there.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think that's also a good idea.
Okay.
I agree. All right, do we need a motion to recommend that, or?
Well,
Yeah,
if appropriate, I'll make an amendment to the motion then that RFPs are due by March 4th, close of business, or 4 o'clock, whatever your terminology was.
yeah, let's use 4 PM.
Okay,
Want to use the March 4th date.
all right, March 4th, 4 PM.
Yeah, then Josh and I can work on the other stuff that you had, Derek, so get that done.
All right, so we have a motion to amend the original motion, and we will vote on the amendment first. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now we will vote again on the amended version for approval. Do I have a motion for that?
I think we just vote.
You know, just.
You already got the motion.
Okay,
So
We're
with the
good.
amendment.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion also carries.
Thank you all.
Who seconded your amended?
Um,
You did? Okay.
all right, thank you,
It's
Jody.
unusual.
Item 5, approval of 2025 contractor pre-qualification for Northeast Pumping Station rehabilitation, presented by Josh Morris, Acting Public Works Director.
All right, thank you. So we have a project out for bid for the Northeast Pumping Station Rehabilitation Project. Bid opening is scheduled for next week, Tuesday. And in order to bid on this, contractors need to be pre-qualified. So city has a form, our consultant had their own form. We both reviewed each other's pre-qualification forms. And the four you see on your sheet are the four contractors who submitted pre-qualification forms, and they were all acceptable to both Strand and city staff. So A1 Excavating from Bloomer, Mid-City Corporation from Butler, Staub Construction Corporation from Marshfield, and August Winter and Sons from Appleton. So the recommendation is to approve the contractors listed above as pre-qualified to bid on the Northeast Pumping Station Rehabilitation Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
I have
say-
one-
Oh,
one-
go ahead, Russ, sorry.
One quick question. So is one of the requirements that we've done work with these contractors in the past?
The pre-qualification forms, really, they look at a few things. They look at financial capacity. They ask to review the volume of dollars of work they do annually. They look at equipment, certainly look at what they have on their schedule, look at past projects. Certainly, if we have our own history with them, that can be weighed in, but there's references included. But all four of these companies are companies we've all worked with before and we're comfortable
Okay.
enough. There were no red flags on it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, approval of Public Works policy updates, presented by Josh Moritz, Acting Public Works Director.
All right, so I gave handouts to each of you prior to the meeting. Can get a little tricky tonight. What was in your packet were 3 policies that I'm recommending be repealed. We can get into that in a minute. The other 3 policies all had some revisions. And since the packet was put together, we tweaked 2 of them, which are what I handed out to tonight. But just to go run through the 3 that I'm recommending be repealed, we just started going through old policies and realized some just didn't make sense anymore or are covered in different documents. So policy 5.07070, terms of payment of assessments for improvements not done under the Housing Incentive Program. The policy in your packet really detailed the timeline of repayment based on what type of construction it was. And since this policy was enacted, the actual municipal code specifies the repayment terms, and it's based on total dollar amount of your special assessment. So this policy really is no longer has been used. I recommend it be repealed. Policy number 5.320 covers excavation in city streets. And this policy was created in 1983. Since then, there's obviously been some changes. All our excavation requirements are spelled out in our annual standard specifications for public works construction document, which would apply to any contracted work and also to city street division work and other utility construction in the right of way refers to the same document and other specifications as spelled out in the right of way permits themselves. So that policy really is no longer needed. And finally, 5.340, sewer and water lateral depth. That language is completely covered in municipal code, chapter 16, the plumbing code. So I recommend to repeal 5.070, 5.320, and 5.340.
And then would we also replace them
Those three can go away completely.
completely? Okay.
We can go through the rest and do this all under one motion, if you'd like.
Everybody okay?
Yeah. So the three revised policies all really refer to sewer and water lateral issues. And what's in your packet differs slightly from what I put on your desk. What's in your packet were revisions that we had come up with prior to the packet being published. And then we just had a few minor tweaks this morning after talking to Marshfield Utilities. But in general, all three of these policy revisions, 5.2, 5.33, and 5.35, kind of just bring things more in line with our current practices and also align with state statute. So 5.200, street construction and reconstruction, the revisions really allow for more flexibility in determining the pavement type and also address more recently used resurfacing processes that really weren't employed back when this policy was written. And then the change that was made this morning, the final paragraph of that policy refers to where and when sewer and water laterals need to be installed to undeveloped lots. So some language clarified in paragraph 5 with the handout that you received tonight. Policy 5330, sanitary sewer, water mains, and lateral installation with street construction or reconstruction. There's a lot of red in the red line, but it really just clarifies when, where, and at whose cost sanitary sewer, water mains, and service laterals are to be installed. So there's a section in there for new construction that specifies mains and laterals shall be installed to all parcels, and that the cost shall be borne by the developer unless other terms have been agreed upon with the city. And on existing streets where there's sewer and water available. So this is a change that you'll see on the one on your desk. The language slightly different than what's in the packet. But it talks about where to install sewer and water laterals on reconstruction projects, and that cost is borne by property owner, which could be handled through special assessments or from a direct billing that sometimes Marshfield uses that. And then finally, 5.350, the sewer lateral repair, replacement, and abandonment policy. The revisions clarify who's responsible for sewer lateral and sewer riser repairs, describe what repair options exist, and also describe how the sanitary sewer lateral replacement incentive program. So my recommendation is to approve repeal the three policies and then approve the three revised policies, including the small revisions that were handed out.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Foreman? Any questions? Go ahead, dear.
So really just a couple comments. First, Josh, this was really mean first meeting in 2025.
I did this. Yeah.
Secondly, they're very dry to read. The big thing, honestly, I wanted to say is I'm a huge fan of going through policies and removing unnecessary ones so that we don't have conflicting information. So I think this is hugely important. I definitely support all these. I did read through them all. It was a lot to read, but I thought they were good changes. And the only question I had was going to be, how frequently do we do this? Because we probably should have a rotation for going through these policies, something kept where, maybe you review every other year a certain batch of them. so that we don't run into these situations, because obviously this is a lot for you guys to go through as well. And you guys are already short-staffed, so definitely want to make sure that we have more of a regular review of these things, so you guys aren't struggling to get through them or have, issues with information being out there and inaccurate.
Well, this actually, a few of these came about at the request of our plumbing inspector, probably almost 2 years ago. So it's just been something that was maybe not high priority. I chose to put them on tonight's, knowing that at January meetings are a little less agenda heavy. So that's why I got them when you did. As far as when we review them, there is no planned review schedule. I think that's a good idea. Some of these came about with staff turnover, not knowing what some of the policies were and where do you look, and this is what you find. So it's not unique to public work.
Okay, any other question? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, approval of certified survey map and dedication of right-of-way on Lincoln Avenue, presented by Josh Moritz, Acting Public Works Director. What's it? Oh, did I? Well, let's switch that over. Approval of revisions of Municipal Code, Chapter 25, Erosion Control and Stormwater Management, presented by Josh Moritz, Acting Public Works Director.
So this is similar in a way to what we had just gone through with the policies. This really impacts the entire chapter 25 of the municipal code, which refers to currently named construction site erosion control, but it pertains to more than that. It's construction site, it's post-construction erosion control, and it's illicit discharge detection and elimination. So back in 2021, the city hired Strand Associates to conduct a citywide stormwater management plan. And we had a grant at the time got the DNR grant. And one of the tasks was to review and prepare potential updates to the city's Chapter 25 erosion control ordinance. And so they put this plan together and it was finally delivered in 2023. A big part of what was in your packet, the entire pages were red language. That language was inserted to the municipal code in 2019. I believe there was some sort of stormwater program audit that was done that figured we need to get that in there right now in 2019. However, the remaining revisions were not incorporated at that time. So what I brought to you in your packet is the rest of the remaining revisions. Most of them were some clarifications of some definitions. Several stormwater management permits had been approved under the previous ordinance. This one, the last few that I've reviewed, there's not a lot of substance change. There's just a lot of clarification. Didn't really change any requirement of the ordinance. It's just a lot of language clarification. So you can see the changes proposed in your packet. And so my recommendation is to approve the proposed changes to Chapter 25 of the municipal code and direct staff to draft an ordinance for common council consideration.
Got a motion by Fire? Second by Stover. All those, any question? Go ahead, Derek.
I just had one question, and I think you kind of just mentioned it a little bit, Josh, but in the red text, I just wanted to know in general for these policies, does this go through the attorney as well? There was a section, I think it was it was in the access one, access to facilities. It was letter A. Oh, sorry, not A. It was
What section number?
it is. Of course, I screwed up the page. I apologize. It was access to the facilities. It might have been 25-48. There was just kind of a generalized line, and I was just curious. Yeah, here it is. Sorry, letter F. In that section, it said unreasonable delays, and as I was reading through this, there was a couple times I saw kind of just generalized, vocab like that, and we've had a lot of discussions with Attorney Wolfgram, obviously, and counsel around stuff like that and like, okay, define unreasonable. And so I was just curious if any of this goes through the attorney, because as I read it, I was kind of getting some of those vibes where I was like, I could see how you could probably argue this point. But, and I just wasn't sure of the process, if that's something that we do to send through. I did focus mostly on the green, but then when I read through the rest of it, I was like, I could see how this could be a little confusing for some.
I did talk to Hap about this, and honestly, I didn't know the process to go through to get this actually into the municipal code either. He said he would review it prior to drafting a resolution for the council to adopt it.
Okay.
So I can highlight this specific thing for him too. I'll be honest, I didn't focus on much of this red either. I knew it was already in the code, but I'll point that out.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in the green. The green was pretty well defined. I just noticed when I read through the rest of it, there was a couple of kind of notes like that. And then I figured if it's existing, I'm sure it's probably fine. But anytime we go through these, I just wasn't sure how they get approved and if that was something we need to revisit at some point so we don't wind up in a pickle of like, well, you say it's unreasonable, I disagree, you know, et cetera, just because it's been a hot topic over the last year.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Which one, that was 8? Oh, we didn't do 8 yet, did we?
Nope.
Yeah. Approval of certified survey map and dedication right-of-way on Lincoln Avenue, presented by Josh Moritz, Acting Public Works Director.
The attached, excuse me, the attached CSM that's in your packet, it's adjacent to Lincoln Avenue. It was submitted to the city for review. The first step in that is to have Plan Commission review it. Not really an action item at that point, but reviewed for their comments and concerns about it. So this step that really kicked off was for the dedication of right-of-way along Lincoln Avenue. Lincoln Avenue is identified as a minor arterial in the City of Marshfield Comprehensive Plan. Subdivision and plating chapter of the municipal code requires a minimum right-of-way of 80 feet for minor arterials. The existing right-of-way on that segment of Lincoln is 66 feet wide. So the request for the CSM review triggers a requirement to dedicate an additional 7 feet on the right-of-way on the east side of Lincoln, adjacent to the CSM, which is indicated on the CSM in your packet. Resolution 2025-02 acknowledges the city's approval of the CSM and the city's acceptance of the additional right-of-way. The recommendation is to approve this certified survey map and dedication of additional right-of-way on Lincoln Avenue and refer resolution 2025-02 to the Common Council consideration.
So moved.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second from Mormon. Any questions, concerns?
One
Go ahead,
question, and maybe I'm just reading it wrong, Josh, so help me understand, but it says a minimum of 80 feet. We have 66 and we're adding 7.
So typically a right-of-way is centered on a roadway, not necessarily, but a 66-foot right-of-way is 33 on the side. We're trying to get. So as
40 on each side.
yes.
Okay,
So
and that,
as property comes available or is surveyed throughout that whole corridor.
looking at the map, that's what I thought. But then as I reread the description up top, I was like, do we need to specify it's 7 on each side since we have 66 and then 7?
Well,
Because I was reading it.
indicating 7 on these parcels. We're not
Okay.
doing anything with the west side.
Okay, got it. All right, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I was very confused as I reread it, but that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I see none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. In motion to adjourn.
Hang on one second, Mike. Items for future agenda. I was
Oh, yeah.
to make a suggestion. And if we have a snow event, it'd be nice to get an update from the street department, how things went, or if they experienced any challenges, breakdowns, that kind of thing. I know Panzer used to do that years ago, and it was kind of nice because it impacts so many people in Marshfield.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
No others? Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Before we get real busy, we should look at the videos that show how they They scope and also how they line, how they do the lining. The new members have never seen that. That's an interesting video to watch, both of them.
Sewer line.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Either way, be good to revisit.
Okay. Now we will entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion from Merman, second Giles. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.